All right, what's happening, everybody? Sorry I've been gone for a while. I got this cold that is still in my chest a little bit. I've had it for about 2 weeks, and I got like 5% better every day, and it sucks. I've had better times in my life. So today we're going to talk about singing, if you didn't already pick that up, authenticity, expression, things of that nature. I'll also cover the all important question: what should I be practicing? Because I get that all the time, and God knows that varies quite a bit. But we're going to talk about what I think most people should be practicing. And like I said, we're going to talk about this authentic expression, all kinds of things like that. So if you want to hear more about this stuff, join me. We're going to chat about it. All right, so got a new camera set up here. I can see what's going on, and it looks very dark, but I'm trying to fix it. Should have two cameras now, but God knows you buy new things, and you're like, it's going to be so much better, and then it ain't better. I had a critique recently, a video critique for a student. Wanted me to tell them, my honest opinion of their voice and things like that. And that coincides with a person that I'm in a band with that I've taught on and off for a number of years. To start with the second one, my good friend, who I've been teaching for a long time, was having trouble a little while back singing. He's in bluesy stuff, so soulful, bluesy, the kind of thing that's like you can't fake it very well. And was having trouble with that, and had to be in the studio with a producer and all this kind of stuff, and they're trying to give him direction. And he was like, "I'm fucking lost." So I was giving my opinion of that as well, and how can we get this more legitimate, more real expression, and not just one where we're coloring it and we're being fake and we're able to manipulate our voice or mimic somebody so that we can get away with it. Because of course that's part of this too in some ways. You're trying to create something that people find pleasing so that you can get away with it, I suppose. Anyway, what we're going to be talking about is that a lot of times, again, the problem I come across most of the time with most singers that are coming to me or sending me, videos for critiques and stuff is, again, this idea of speak singing. They're in a realm, a muscular realm, a ego vulnerability realm. They're in this place where their voice is mostly coming from right here, and they're putting all this weight of expression, all that kind of stuff on the fact that their voice is just coming out of their face right here. And I don't mean for that to be confusing, but I'm going to try to explain. If your voice, like the way I'm speaking right now, is only expressed via these muscles right here, it's taking a very small portion of what could be expressed, and it's just, like I said, it's just making it this much tinier. So when somebody says, is my voice good, and do I have a good voice, and all that kind of stuff, and then they're singing from up here, that's all I'm hearing is this. And eventually, when somebody gets better at singing, they're expressing with their body, and I can hear more of their body. And until you get to that point, you're kind of stuck in this realm. But like I said, you're putting all that same weight that everybody else puts on themselves. Am I good? Am I gonna be good? And is this song good? Do I sound like shit? All that kind of stuff. So we're gonna try to get you singing more again from the body. Not to mention clicking on some light switches of things that you should be doing every time you're singing, so that you're starting to express from the body and from everything in here. Lastly, when it comes to expression and pain and sadness and stuff like that, many of us that are musicians, especially big, sad, melancholy, depressed motherfuckers, when we write something that's sad, we want people to feel that. And there's been plenty of times, I'm sure, like me, where you're literally emotional through the singing or recording process. And you're like, it's going to sound so sad. People don't even know how sad I am. And it actually sounds like shit. Every time, without fail. It's very difficult to sing and sound really emotional and actually be really emotional. So again, we're going to learn how to express from the body instead of it just being like, oh God, and just being right here. Now, tapping into this one more time as we start here. My voice is not working that well because I'm still sick. So there's going to be some hang-ups. There's going to be some things that you're going to hear that aren't going to sound that pleasing, or maybe they'll sound okay. But I want you to know that going into this again, that I'm not sounding my best. You can hopefully tell just from my speaking voice. Anyway, okay. Now as we continue into this again, singing and everything like that is happening in different multiple ways. We're creating there's different coordinations that we would engage and move into, and different musculature and stuff like that. For the most part, though, we build a foundation that we can go into. Now, what does that entail? That entails a couple different things, which I've gone over plenty of times. I'm going to go over them again, but in a way, you're taking what you know about your speaking voice, up here, and then when you're going to start singing, you're clicking on a switch, a muscular switch in a couple different ways, and saying, now I'm doing these things. So there could be plenty of analogies I could tie to this in different ways, but again, just follow along and start implementing some of these things into your practice, and notice when you are, and notice again that you're going, oh, okay, I got to do this thing now. I was doing this. Now I'm doing this. Okay? So again, it's this light switch thing. Singing, speaking, etc. I've gone over this plenty of times to very many different ways, and I will continue to do so. But first of all, again, we need to be breathing properly. I know nobody wants to hear that, and everybody's like, the fucking breathing, whatever. But if you're not breathing properly, you're only accessing a certain amount of this body thing I'm talking about, and you're shutting a lot of it down. Not to mention, it's only going to make everything that you're learning eventually more difficult. It's exponentially going to make everything more difficult. You're going to learn how to belt. Well, you better learn how to breathe correctly. You're going to learn how to compress. It's going to be a lot harder if you don't know how to breathe correctly. You want to bring volume in and bring dynamics in. If you don't know how to breathe correctly, it's going to be a lot harder, et cetera, et cetera. So again, really quick, we're learning how to relax the upper chest, the shoulders, and not have our breath carrying each time up here. Now we get to hear how sick I am. So watch yourself in a mirror, whatever you got to do, practice getting the breath down here. Now, if you're one of these, how do I say this in a very sensitive way? I'm not going to say it in a very sensitive way, and people can get upset if they want, whatever. But especially in America, most people are overweight. Many male singers that I teach are men that are overweight and have, a beer gut or something like that. And you teach them to breathe correctly. They're like, I don't want to look fat on stage. Well, learning how to breathe, can you see the problem here instantly? If you're overweight and then you're like, I'm not going to learn how to sing right because it's going to make me look worse. Well, you should have thought about that at some point. What the fuck? So anyway, if you're one of those people, you got to let it go, man. You can't be up there on stage and be like, I'm going to hold my gut in the whole time and nobody's going to know. It's like big guys that wear 2 or 3 shirts because they're like, now nobody can tell that I'm overweight. Whatever, man. Whatever. We're still going to learn how to breathe correctly. Everybody's got their issues. I got fucking issues. So if that's one of your issues, you're going to have to let it go and learn how to do this stuff correctly. You should probably sound better on stage than imagine how you look on stage and try to go like this and try to, even if you have a guitar, it's so fucking goofy. Anyway, we're learning how to breathe down here. We are not pushing the stomach out. We are not sucking the stomach back in. We are literally breathing similar to meditation. We're just trying to breathe down here, and the stomach is expanding naturally and deflating naturally. What is the point of this? The point of this is that the diaphragm is driving the voice all the time, almost all the time. We should be in a state of engagement with the diaphragm, whether that's pushing down too hard and you're going too heavy, or whether you're simply resting. I'm just sitting ever so slightly. If you want to know what that feels like, we'll get into that here in a second. But again, you can start getting in the habit of practicing singing, sitting down, standing up, driving a car, whatever you're doing, and keeping a hand right here, constantly on the alert and reminding yourself, am I breathing correctly? Oh, no, I wasn't breathing correctly. Am I breathing correctly? Am I doing what that red-haired dork fucking was talking about? I can't tell. You should be constantly checking in with yourself. So once this starts to work, and like I said, there's plenty of other videos about this, then we're learning how to rest into this diaphragm. Again, what this is doing is creating a spring action in here. So we're pushing up against the hard palate or whatever kind of pressure you're building up against once we learn how to do this stuff better. And we're starting to build a spring in here. And we're able to utilize that spring. So again, you're not just hearing up here. You're starting to hear the engagement of my entire kind of core and chest, my neck. You're hearing a lot of different things. Not to mention when I'm placing that sound correctly and even putting a little bit more weight or power into it, you're starting to hear more of my skull resonance and everything because I'm placing my voice correctly and it's more projected, it's more supported, everything. Right there, you can hear my chest, you can hear all these things. To the trained ear, especially, you can definitely hear more of a difference between the lack of and like this. So let's move on to this diaphragmatic support thing again. One of the main things too, let me answer this really quick. What should I be practicing? What should I be practicing? Should I just be practicing breathing all the time? No, what you're doing is you're implementing all these different things I'm going to talk about into legato exercises or making songs that you're singing into legato exercises. What the fuck does legato mean? Legato is an Italian term in singing, which means to elongate notes and most of the time to connect them together. So again, this would be staccato, because it's choppy. This would be legato. So if I was to sing this with legato in mind, there I just took everything and turned it into this big kind of breath and this big expression and this big continuation. So as we get into diaphragmatic support, made many videos about this. Actually, the first video I ever made about the singing stuff was on diaphragmatic support because I knew that I struggled with it learning it, and I know other people consistently and constantly, I don't know how to support. So get into a place where you're learning how to rest on the diaphragm. As I was mentioning, you can lie down on your back and you can start picking your head up off the ground from your stomach, or you can sit back in a chair. The second I start picking my head up off the ground, and this starts to engage and starts to pull me inwards like this. So my body is collapsing forward. I should be engaging these top ab wall, or it can be lower. It doesn't matter. You're going to figure this out, but you can trace that line and figure out where you're pushing from, and you'll start to get into diaphragmatic support, meaning your voice is not any longer being pushed out of the head with these muscles. It's being pushed out of here from here. So if I go, ha, ha, and I laugh, or if I cough like I've been doing for 2 weeks, I would be pushing my voice out of my head from right here. Another way to practice this is that we find it and find something matter-of-factly, just like I did, ha's and coughs and whatever, that are matter-of-factly, no doubt about it, diaphragmatic. And then I put my singing through that. It might be loud, it might be ridiculous, it might be too much, but then we learn what that feels like and then we reel it back in. If we forget, we go heavy again, we reel it back in. We just are consistently and constantly reminding ourselves, how do we be diaphragmatic? Am I diaphragmatic? Am I being diaphragmatic? Am I singing from the diaphragm right now? All right, so once we start to get a handle on that, the last piece of this, breathing in, supporting, pushing down, is our placement, putting our voice where we're putting our voice in the mouth. It can be positioned back farther. It can be positioned forward farther. But we're balancing the pressure between that spring that we're building up against the hard palate or soft palate. If I go, ha, and I kind of open my mouth like this, my voice is now shooting out of my face. The pressure that would have otherwise been more balanced and built here, that tiny shift has now taken that pressure and started to shoot it out of my face. Therefore, I've lost my placement in it, essentially. God, I'm spitting. I've lost my placement. I want to bring that placement back to a more comfortable up here. Run through your vowels with me. I've done this. I'm moving very quickly, but if we take all of our vowels, we're going to balance them up on the top. I want you to search for that vibration and try to tie these three things together. So take a breath. Feel that up on the top. E. If E makes you go E and you start doing this, we go back to yeah. We don't want a big shift. We're not going to get into vowel modification. I've done plenty of things on that too, but we're just keeping everything up at the top. Your main key here is that pressure we're building, keeping that spot of placement, that vibration we can find, and then keeping that relatively neutral, keeping it the same. Same thing. A, E, I, O, U. E. E, I. A, E, I. I. Oh. You. Now let's take one note at a time really quick. I'm going to be doing one note at a time. I want you to start thinking about this. Again, we're turning those three things on, those three main things. Push down, connect. Push down, connect. Now, the last part of this is I'm going to be trying to think about all of this in one movement each time. What does that mean? It means that we're creating this movement each time, setting ourselves up for success with singing. Before each phrase, before each note, before each scale, we set ourselves up. Breathe in, push down, up on the top. Breathe in, push down, up on the top. We're creating this circular motion where we breathe back in and we push and we express through like this. We're creating a breathing circle, and we're starting to associate singing with a breathing exercise, because that's what it is. If you learn how to play saxophone, you learn how to play clarinet, whatever, you are engaged in a controlled breathing exercise, meaning you're taking a breath in, you're learning how to push into the reed, which is your vocal cords in this case, and then you're carrying the notes through until you need to, again, like this. So think about it like a breathing exercise. One note at a time. Same thing here. We'll go with A because it's simple. And then, if you're female, you can take this higher. It doesn't matter. We can take it higher. Anyway, here, starting here. If I go, take a breath in. Hey, 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 hey. Each time there, I just did the same movement over and over and over again. Get to know that movement. Get to know how those words that you're singing and stuff are interacting and cutting you off from that movement. If you see me putting my head down like this, that helps me to correct my placement. It's something I teach a lot. It's not that we're going to sing like this, but we're learning to get these muscles out of the way and loosen them up so we can press up in here. Watch an opera singer or one of the most, one of these very, very trained singers. Most of the time you'll see that their head is down a little bit like this because they're able to open this up and connect to that spring, et cetera, et cetera. Now, taking this one step farther, whatever songs you're working on, we're starting to learn how to add as much legato to them as we can. Are you going to sing like this all the time? No. Is this something that you want to implement? Is this the best singing thing fucking ever? No. But this is connecting you to what singing really feels like in and of itself as an art form, as a muscular movement, whatever you want to say. We're learning how to do this so much that becomes muscle memory. And then, like I said, everything else is going to flow a lot easier. Everything else that we're putting on top of this foundation that we're building is going to make a lot more sense. But when you really are engaged in the process of singing and you really start to know what it feels like to sing, again, if I make the analogy of playing a clarinet or a woodwind instrument or something, if I go and I blow right from here and I learn how to play from that, it's never going to work. It's never going to work. We have to learn how to breathe, and there's a couple things that we're connecting. So we're doing the same thing with singing. Then, like I said, we're adding legato. I don't always want to sing the same songs, but if I sing, hopefully YouTube doesn't pick this up and then ding my video. If I sing like Separate Ways by Journey, that song is, here we stand, worlds apart, hearts broken in two. You know what I'm saying. So I would take something like that, walk around your room, sitting, do whatever you want to do, but take it like one breath at a time, one passage at a time, and slow it down on purpose, meaning you have to sing the shit out of it. You cannot get away with, here we stand, worlds apart, hearts broken in two. That's the way most people are singing. So we're gonna get into this, and we're gonna sing the shit out of it, and we're gonna try. At least this isn't gonna sound that great, but here we go again. Here we stand, worlds apart, hearts broken in two. When I'm met with that, I'm just using head voice and stuff, but when I'm met with that consistent, constant pressure and the need or that expression of that longevity, I got to keep the note going. I can't just go two. I have to do a lot more work, and I have to think from a singing place, and I have to express from a singing place. So lastly, when it comes to this longevity or these expression and things like that, and feeling like you're not being truthful, all this stuff is going to tie you to your body. It's going to connect you to what singing actually feels like. And the more you practice this every day, whatever you can do, find songs that express in this way. Find singers that sing like this and copy them for a while. Mimic them for a while. Mimic their songs. Get into a place of really breathing and really singing. And like I said, everything else is going to be easier, I promise. It's been good to be back here again. Hopefully I keep getting better at a rapid pace. And sorry for my absence, but more to come here soon. If you have things you want to learn about, you have things you want to hear about, unless it's just I have comments all the time of just one-off random problems that people are having. But still, I want to hear what you're struggling with. I want to hear what you want to learn about. Happy to talk about more of this stuff. I'll see you soon.